I wasn't looking for anything. That's the detail I keep circling back to, as if saying it enough times could absolve me of what followed. I wasn't snooping. I wasn't digging through secrets. I was just looking for a roll of tape. It was late on a Saturday morning, the kind of grey September day that promises rain but can't quite deliver. Lavra had gone to meet her sister for brunch. I stayed behind, tasked with patching up the loose edge of wallpaper in the guest room. I pulled open drawers, cabinets, little baskets full of the odds and ends we both pretended were organized. In the bottom drawer of the old dresser, the one we'd picked up second-hand when we first moved into this house, I found the envelope. A thick manila one, bulging slightly, its flap tucked in but not sealed. I shouldn't have opened it. I tell myself that every time I replay the moment. But the weight of it, the way it seemed so deliberately hidden under a stack of unused picture frames, invited curiosity the way a locked door does. Inside were photographs and letters. The photographs first, grainy prints, some faded with age. Lavra, unmistakably younger, maybe mid-20s, smiling at someone behind the camera. Her hair longer, looser. In some she stood in front of landmarks I didn't recognize. A fountain, a city street at dusk, a little cabin by a lake. In others, she wasn't looking at the camera at all, but at whoever was holding it. And in those pictures her smile had a different quality, and guarded, almost glowing. Then the letters. Handwritten, folded neatly into thirds. A man's handwriting. One didn't recognize the name signed at the bottom of each, Daniel. The words swam in front of me, sentences filled with tenderness, longing, promises. Phrases like "I've never felt this way before" and "I can still smell your hair on my jacket." They weren't obscene, but they were intimate. Some were dated 2009, 2010, years before I met her. Still, my chest tightened as though it caught her cheating in the next room. I slid the envelope back into the drawer, shut it carefully, and sat on the bed. The wallpaper in the corner peeled away from the wall, like a wound I'd forgotten to dress. The roll of tape sat in my hand, suddenly absurd in its ordinariness. And so it began. The seed of suspicion, watered by my own imagination, rooted itself in me. When Lavra came home later that day, she smelled faintly of perfume, floral, something her sister must have spritzed on her. She kicked off her boots and called out, "You wouldn't believe the size of the pancakes at that place." I tried to respond casually. "Yeah." My voice cracked on the single syllable. She appeared in the doorway, her cheeks flushed from the chill outside. She was beautiful, in that easy, familiar way I'd grown used to, the way you stop noticing the lines of a painting when it hangs in your house long enough. "What?" she asked, smiling at me. Nothing. But something had shifted. My eyes kept searching her face for clues. Did she look guilty? Distracted? Was her smile, the one she gave me now, the same as the one she'd given to the man behind the camera in those old photos? She wandered into the kitchen to make tea, humming under her breath. I followed, my hands fidgeting with nothing. "How was your sister?" I asked. "The same," she said, filling the kettle. "Still complaining about her boss, still on again, off again with that guy." Her words washed over me, but didn't stick. I wanted to ask, "And what about you, Laura? What about your past you never mentioned? Who is Daniel?" Instead, I nodded. "Sounds about right." I told myself it was all in the past. Old love letters, nothing more. But I couldn't stop wondering why she'd kept them. In the weeks that followed, the knowledge of those letters sat between us like a silent guest at the table. At night, lying beside her, I would trace the curve of her shoulder with my eyes while pretending to read. Her breathing would deepen, steady, as she fell asleep. And I would wonder, when she dreamt, did she ever dream of him? The smallest things began to grate at me. The way she lingered on her phone at night, smiling faintly at some text. The way she looked out the window during dinner, her thoughts miles away. One evening, she caught me staring. "What?" she asked, laughing softly. Nothing, I said again. Always nothing. But inside me was everything. I started imagining conversations. In the shower, driving to work, even while making coffee. I would rehearse the confrontation. I found the letters, Lavra. Who is he? And she would either confess or laugh at me. Sometimes, in these fantasies, she admitted she still loved him, and I walked out. Other times she explained gently, and I forgave her. But when I looked at her across the breakfast table, hair messy from sleep, sipping her coffee the way she always did, 2 sugars, a splash of cream, I couldn't bring myself to shatter that fragile normalcy. It wasn't only jealousy, it was fear. Fear that the life we had built together could be dismantled by a ghost from the past. We'd been married for 6 years. We had rituals, Sunday grocery runs, Friday night takeout, late night walks in summer. We argued about dishes and bills, but we always made up before bed. We weren't perfect, but we were steady. And yet, those letters made me question everything. If she had loved someone else with such intensity once, was what we had merely second best? One evening, while she was showering, I stood in front of the drawer again. My hand hovered over the handle. I told myself I wouldn't look, but I did. I read more of his words, in counting the days until we can be together again. And her responses, tucked in with her handwriting, familiar, slanted slightly to the right. She had written back. She had loved him too. My throat tightened. I put everything back, but it felt like too late. The knowledge of her words was burned into me. When she came out of the shower, towel wrapped around her hair, she smiled and asked, "Want to watch something?" I nodded, my chest aching. The changes were subtle at first. I touched her less, afraid of feeling like an intruder in a life she might have once promised to someone else. My laughter felt forced, my words clipped. She noticed. Of course she did. "Is something wrong?" she asked one night, after we'd gone nearly silent during dinner. "No," I said. "Are you sure?" Her eyes searched mine, patient but concerned. "Just tired." She let it go, but I could feel her withdrawing in return. A distance opened between us, small but undeniable, like a hairline crack in glass spreading with every passing day. I wrestled with myself constantly. To tell or not to tell. Part of me wanted to demand answers, to thrust the letters into her hands and say, "Explain this." Another part feared the fallout. What if she resented me for going through her things? What if the letters meant nothing now, and I would only hurt us both by dragging them into the light? At work, I found myself staring blankly at screens, lost in thought. At night, I lay awake listening to her breathe, wondering if she was truly asleep or just pretending like me. I imagined telling my best friend, but I didn't. How could I? It felt too raw, too humiliating, to admit I was jealous of a man who might not even be in her life anymore. And yet, silence felt like betrayal to my betrayal of myself. Weeks stretched into months. The letters haunted me. I began to scrutinize her every move, every word. When she laughed at a joke on her phone, I wondered who had sent it. When she lingered too long in the yard after checking the mail, I imagined secret correspondence. I knew I was being irrational, but knowing didn't stop the thoughts. One night, lying beside her, I finally whispered, "Do you ever think about old relationships?" She turned to face me, her eyes heavy with sleep. "Sometimes, I guess." "Why?" "Just wondering." She studied me for a moment. "You know you're the one I chose, right?" Her words should have soothed me. Instead, they pierced deeper, because she had said, "You're the only one I ever loved." The breaking point came on a rainy Tuesday. I came home early from work, the house quiet, the air damp with the smell of wet leaves. I walked into the bedroom and found her sitting on the bed, the manila envelope in her lap. She looked up, startled. "You found them," she said softly. The room tilted. My rehearsed speeches fled my mind. "You knew?" "Of course I knew. I kept them." I swallowed hard. Why? She touched the envelope, her fingers trembling. Because they were part of me. Part of who I was before you. I didn't keep them because I want him back. I kept them because he mattered once. And I didn't want to erase that. My throat burned. And you never thought to tell me. She closed her eyes. Would it have helped? Or would it have just made you doubt everything we have? I couldn't answer. Because we were already living the proof. We didn't yell. There were no slammed doors, no dramatic ultimatums. Just silence, heavy and suffocating. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. She reached for my hand under the blanket, tentative, and I let her hold it. Her fingers were warm, familiar, grounding. But inside me, a storm raged. I realized then that love isn't erased by new love. What she had with Daniel didn't vanish when she married me. It lived in her still, as my past loves lived in me. But knowing it, seeing it in ink, made it unbearable. It's been weeks since that night. We're trying both of us to move forward. We talk more now, carefully, like people rebuilding a house after an earthquake. Some days feel almost normal, others feel like walking across glass. I still think about the letters. Sometimes I want to burn them myself, to erase the ghost of him once and for all. Other times I understand why she kept them, why memories don't always fit neatly into the past. Lavra has started holding me a little closer at night, and I hold her back. Though part of me wonders if I'm holding her tighter to keep her from slipping away. The future is uncertain. Trust, once cracked, doesn't mend easily. But when I look at her across the table, sunlight on her face, I remind myself she's here, with me. And for now, that has to be enough.